Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Judy Blake, and I am a program coordinator for the amazing organization Family to Family Network. We are in the greater Houston area. We have people today joining us from all over the state, which is really wonderful. I am not Mary Jane Williams. I forgot to change the title slide. My name is Judy Blake, as I mentioned, and I'm joined by two amazing colleagues. Christina, you want to say hello? If you can.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yep, now we can
Oh,
hear you.
hi
Wonderful.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Many of you know Christina. She kind of holds us together and keeps us in line. And we also have Leonella Castillo.
Hi, everyone.
Leonella is one of our bilingual case managers, so some of you may know her as well. Next slide, please. So we are going to be discussing today the Autism Supplement, and we are thrilled to have such a large group. What we do at Family to Family Network, if you are new, and this is maybe your first webinar that you are joining us for, we are what I call tiny but mighty. We provide information and referrals to the community. We have an annual conference that is every January. We are very active in the legislature and public policy. We provide support for families, and we offer training classes like this. Next slide, please. So just like a quick poll, you can type your comments in the chat box. What do you know about the Autism Supplement? Do you know a lot? And are you just looking for a refresher class? You might know some of it, but you want to learn more. You know very little and you need a lot of help. Not a clue, and that's why you're here. So if you could just type in the chat box, I would love to just kind of get a feel for what people know. Not a clue, but my child has one. Wonderful. Love the honesty. And believe me, when this came out, the Autism Supplement, I was the same way. Very little, very good, not a clue. That's okay. We're happy you're here. And some of you might know a little bit. Okay, but we have a lot of not a clue. Well, great. Thank you for your honesty. We appreciate it. Next slide, please. So TexasProjectFirst.org is a phenomenal website. It was written by parents and for parents. The website is in both English and Spanish. And it's great because if you go into it in the upper section, I believe on the right-hand side, you can type in Autism Supplement and it will explain everything that you need to know. You can call us if you have questions, but we do encourage you to look at TexasProjectFirst.org. Again, it's in both English and Spanish, and it can explain a lot of what we are discussing today. Next slide, please. So just a gentle reminder, when you have your meetings with the school, remember that you are the parent. You are an important part of the ARD committee. You know what's best for your child, and you need to stand up for your rights. So please remember that. You may not have a clue what the Autism Supplement is. You may not be a special ed teacher, but you do know your child. And that says a lot, and that means a lot. Next slide, please. Another gentle reminder, prior written notice. It's really important that everything that you discuss with the school is in writing. Schools are very, very overwhelmed. We don't support schools enough. There's a shortage of teachers, a shortage of special education teachers, and they are managing so much. It's really important to make sure that anything that they tell you is in writing. You want to make sure that if they call you, that's great, no problem. But follow up with an email, get the name of the person you talk to, their phone number, what they do, and then follow up with an email just to make sure you understand what was given to you as far as information goes. So you have that right to information in writing when the school proposes or refuses to initiate or to change something. So it's not like the school can just decide one day, I want to change the placement of your child, or we want to reduce this service. They need to let you know. We have a training on procedural safeguards. If you would like that, it's also in Texas Project First. Please make sure you know that everything should be in writing and you have the right to disagree. Next slide, please. Again, a little bit more about prior written notice. I apologize, it's a little bit misaligned there, but you have the right to know, what did they use to make that decision? Why are they making that decision? Are there other choices that the committee has considered and why? It should always be in the native language of the parents. You are the one signing it. You're the one agreeing to it. Next slide, please. There is Texas Project First again. We explain the IEP step by step, and you can also see what your notice of rights are. Next slide, please. So now we're going to get into the strategies for students with autism. This is something that Texas really got right. Each one of these 11 strategies must be considered during your IEP meeting, that annual meeting that you have every year. And it's not to say that your child is going to receive and each one of these strategies is going to be implemented, but they must be considered. If the ARD committee decides to use a strategy, great. But if they decide that it might not be needed for a student, they need to include a statement in the IEP and give a reason as to why that strategy is not needed. So I can tell you now just some personal information. I am the single parent of an adult son on the autism spectrum. He is a graduate of Houston Independent School District. He's now, he just turned 30. And I can tell you that he had several of these strategies implemented. Positive behavior supports, parent-family training and support, communication interventions, social skills support, in-home and community-based training. So it's going to be different for each child. My colleague Leslie, she couldn't join me today. Her child, they may have considered some of the same strategies for her son. Maybe they considered all of them. It's not a cookie cutter system. It should be individualized for each child. Next slide, please. So just a little background on the Autism Supplement. It was developed in the 1980s, and it was developed because people realized that students' needs weren't being met. Kids with autism, no two are alike. They might have similarities, but no two are exactly alike. And they might need more accommodations than their peers. There were minor revisions made in the 1990s. And then there was a major revision in 2007 when the Texas legislature advised the TEA, which is the Texas Education Agency, to involve stakeholders, that's you and me, to update the supplement. At this point, I believe we are still the only state that has the autism supplement, but it's possible that more states might be getting one. Next slide, please. So what it doesn't do, it doesn't mandate that specific programs or services be provided to students with autism. It's not black and white. It says that it must consider. It doesn't state that a specific degree or that a teacher or paraprofessional or teacher's aide must have a specific credential. That's what it doesn't do. So what does it do for us? Next slide, please. It requires the ARD committee to consider each of the 11 strategies, regardless of the student's level of functioning. And it's really important that you understand that because, I've had people say to me, oh, that child doesn't have autism. They're very bright. Their grades are great. Or that child doesn't have autism. They look me in the eye when they talk to me. Or they have friends. They don't have autism. It also requires that you provide a rationale if the strategy is not used. There needs to be a written statement and a reason why the strategy is not needed. So again, it's not a mandate that each one of them be implemented, but they must be considered. Personnel should be qualified and trained in both general and student-specific strategies. That's what it does require. So it's not that they need a specific credential, but they do need to have some training. Next slide, please. Strategy number 1, extended programming. So your child might require an extended school day. Maybe they need an extended school year. Maybe they need certain transition times for the holidays. It's not limited to type, duration, or amount of services. Just know that there is that option for extended programming. I can tell you that with my son, when it came to middle school, those were challenging years, like for any teenager. And he participated in a summer program for 6 weeks, and that really helped. They worked on social skills, they did community outings, they worked on behaviors and things like that. Check with your school district, your special education chairperson or the teacher to see what is offered in your school district. By the way, if you have questions, I forgot to mention this, feel free to type them in the chat box and we'll review them at the end. If you don't feel comfortable asking your question, this is a safe place, but if you don't feel comfortable, feel free to private message myself, Leonella, or Christina. Next slide, please. So for extended day and extended school year services, some of the things that, the consideration for services, like I said, it could be social skills, could be working on behaviors, communication, could be academics, and very importantly, self-help skills. We always want our kids to be as independent to the extent possible. They might need modifications, they might need accommodations, but the goal is independence so that they are living meaningful lives. Your child just might need some help with these services. Next slide, please. So minimal unstructured time and active engagement. It should really be obvious to someone walking in the room what the child should be doing at any given time. So what should they be doing now? Where should they be doing it and with what supports? So you want to make sure that there's a student-specific schedule, and we're going to discuss that a little bit later. Where does your child go? Are they in small time increments? What to do when they get there? What are the goals and objectives taught throughout the day? And are they across multiple settings? We all learn differently. Some of our kids are auditory learners. Some of them are visual. Some of them are more tactile. Active engagement the majority of the school day is always important to the extent possible. Strategy number 3. Slide, please. So this could be an example of a daily schedule versus a work activity system. And really, it's going to depend on your child. The daily schedule tells where your child is going to go and where it is. Whereas the work activity system, that's going to tell them what to do, how much to do, and when is it finished. I can tell you for my son, both of these worked really well. Transition can be hard for any of our kids, and it helps for them to know, okay, when are they getting a break? For my son, the most important thing is when is lunchtime or when is snack time? That was always very, very important to him. But you can see the different schedules and systems that can be in place to help your child feel comfortable so they know what to expect during the day. Next slide, please. Pictures can be so helpful. You know, whenever a parent says to me, oh, yeah, no, my child can't communicate, they're not verbal, that doesn't mean they can't communicate. Pictures work wonders. Sign language, my son used to know a little sign language before his speech came into full bloom. Pictures, very, very helpful. And the pictures with a chart, very helpful. Work with your teacher to develop a system that works best for your child. Next slide, please. I cannot stress the importance of creating structure at home. Teachers work very hard to create structure and to be consistent. You know, obviously there's going to be some changes. Maybe the teacher's sick, maybe the teacher's aide is sick, maybe one of the other students is having a difficult time and they have to shift what they're doing in the class. But creating structure, both physically and with a schedule, and those individual schedules can make a huge difference. I think that the more predictability there is for our kids, the more comfortable they feel and they know what to expect. I don't know about y'all, but I've been a single parent for over 20 years. There's no question that parents raising any child are stretched thin. If you can, try to have some predictability. The wake up time, the bedtime, the dinner time. Because if you're all over the map in regards to a schedule, it can sometimes cause anxiety for our kids. And the more predictable schedule, it can help. Our kids need to understand change and they need to be able to adapt to change. You could say, okay, we're going to go to the park in a couple of hours and all of a sudden it starts raining or you hear thunder. Those things are going to happen. We can't always predict them. But to the extent possible, try to create a predictable home environment because the teacher will hopefully will provide that structure and predictability in the classroom. Next slide, please. Strategy 3, in-home and community-based training. Again, it's going into that consistency. If the teacher is really structured and you have a schedule at home, if everything is either in disarray or unscheduled, that can be really hard for our kids. Sometimes it can be hard to transfer what they have learned at school to transfer it into the home environment. When my son was initially diagnosed 29 years ago, they called it pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. And the abbreviation was PDD-NOS. So basically it was pervasive. It was happening everywhere. And one of his big challenges was he would be a certain way in school and then be different at home. So what we had we had a social skills trainer who worked in conjunction with the teacher and worked with him in the community so that they could work on those skills that are taught in school, transfer them to the home, maybe to a park, maybe to a restaurant, things like that. So the in-home and community-based training, it's allowing for those alternatives. It's allowing for different places for those strategies to be implemented. Next slide, please. So ask for help from the school. again, our teachers are overwhelmed. This is not to say that, you want to email them every day, but maybe once a week. Have a communication folder. Write notes back and forth. We didn't have this when my kids were in school because technology wasn't what it is today. So we would email, but go to the portal. Give them a few days to answer. But learn what they're doing for your child so you can work with your child at home. Even if it's 15 minutes, it's better than nothing. I'm a working parent. I imagine many of you on this call might be. And your schedule is very overwhelming. Anything that you can do, even if it's 10, 15 minutes, can make a huge difference. Next slide, please. Positive behavior supports. This is really important for our kids. And actually, this is really important even if you have a child or son or daughter that does not have autism. When children exhibit really challenging behaviors, they are communicating. May not be verbal, but behavior is communication. And positive behavior supports is really an important strategy because it involves the use of research-based strategies using sustained positive preventive approaches. So in this slide, you'll see that we use the term FBA, which stands for Functional Behavior Analysis. So if you have a child that is really having those challenging behaviors, either an LSSP or a BCBA, which is a board certified behavior analyst, and an LSSP is the licensed specialized school psychologist, they can come in and evaluate. They're going to see what is causing those behaviors, what's happening right before that either meltdown, that explosive behavior, to see, okay, what can we do? And then they implement a behavior intervention plan. We call it a BIP. And then if necessary, they will teach skills to help prevent those future behaviors from recurring. We want to identify replacement behaviors, not just desired behaviors, but replacement behaviors, and teach our kids to learn new skills. Peer supports can be very, very helpful, especially as children get older. I know with my son, we relied on some of his peers, and the teachers in the class know who's really helpful and really good and kind. And I remember one of his elective classes, they were really great. There were a couple of girls who really took my son under their wing. There's also self-monitoring systems. There's school-wide systems. So positive behavior supports is really, it's evidence-based, and we want to try to minimize those really challenging behaviors. Next slide, please. If a child, and I really love this is why we include it. If they don't know how to read, we teach. If we don't know how to swim, they don't know how to swim, we teach. The same with multiplying or driving. But when they don't know how to behave or they have trouble behaving, what do? Sometimes we punish. And that really isn't the answer. Sure, everybody deserves to be safe. The other students in the class deserve to be safe. But we need to implement strategies to encourage positive behaviors so that our kids will really live and show us that they can behave in a way that is positive in nature. Next slide, please. So I know that there's a lot of text on here, and I'm just gonna, I can send you the slide deck, like I said, but this is a strategy for a child. and we removed their name, but it just explains, what is it that we are going to do, that the assessment was completed and what the functional behavior was. Keep going. And then we discuss that, yes, we check off, yes, this is needed. The FBA that I mentioned, the functional behavior analysis, the behavior intervention plan, that was put in place as well. And what is it that we're going to do for the child? Okay, we're going to offer choices. We're going to provide frequent positive feedback, even a high five for a child, a smiley face, a sticker, things like that. They work wonders for our kids. We're going to teach appropriate communication skills. So again, this is just an example of what a positive behavior support strategy would look like in the IEP. Next slide, please. So futures planning. We always say at Family to Family Network, we never want someone graduating to the living room couch. And by law, transition planning begins at or before the 14th birthday, and that's for Texas. Futures planning can begin much earlier. Some people feel transition begins the day you're born, because you are always transitioning from one stage of life to the next with your child. Every child, regardless of their ability, has hopes, they have dreams. I always say that no child ever rises to low expectations, and we want to presume competence for our kids. Start with that endpoint. What does your child have an interest in? It may change, and that's fine, but work backward from that hope, from that dream. What elective courses can they take? What clubs could they belong to? You want to prepare for those unique needs for further education and employment, and also for independent living. And this is part of the IDEA manual, and this is law. So the school with futures planning should be preparing your child for each of those things. That's not to say that your child may be able to do all those things. For example, my child does not live independently, and he didn't pursue further education, but as soon as he graduated, he got a job and he's been working ever since, and he works part-time. So you want to make sure that it's uniquely designed for your child. Next slide, please. Again, more information on futures planning. There's a lot of text on this slide, but the environment, integrated living, work, community, educational, and then it lists for elementary school, middle school, high school, and adult life. Like I said, it's a goal planning chart, different for each child, and it's something that you want to consider for your child. And it should be discussed. It is mandatory. Next slide, please. Did you go to the next slide, Leonella? My apologies. It's hard to tell.
Yes.
Okay, so this is another futures planning slide for the elementary version. And it has even more steps and what needs to be covered. Develop a circle of friends. That's an important step. For middle school, again, developing friends. In high school, participating in extracurricular activities. So it's going to change for each child, and it's going to change throughout the course of their education, but it addresses different environments and what should take place. Next slide, please. Strategy number 6, parent-family support. We're all learning. You can read 10 books on raising kids with autism, and there will still be more information to know. Training can come in different formats. It can be handouts that are sent home. It can be workshops like this one that you're attending. It can be a referral for resources. But it's important that it include disability-specific information. If you are on this call and your child was recently diagnosed, or maybe your child was diagnosed 2 years ago and you still don't understand autism and how it presents itself in your child, please reach out to us because there is information that we can provide to you that will help guide you. Again, no child is different, but you should be given information that explains what is autism and how it relates to your child, how it impacts the siblings, what caregivers need to know. So the support is based on evaluation, and your school should be asking you, parents, what do you need? It's not just about what the school is offering and letting you know about a district training, but what do you really need so that you can be successful and understand what works best for your child. Observations and evaluations should be occurring before the ARD meeting. They should be collecting data. Any decision that is made in the Autism Supplement when you're discussing the strategies or during any of your meetings, data should be collected. Who is observing your child? For how long? Because any observation that they make, that is just one snapshot in time. Maybe your child was having a great day, and that's wonderful. But maybe there's other times when they're having a very difficult day. So maybe they need to collect more data. Next slide, please. Training. Knowledge empowers you. Having such a great attendance on this webinar is great. And the more knowledge you get, the more empowered you feel. Next slide, please. So what do you need to learn from the school? Do you need help with communicating with your child? Social skills? How do you manage those challenging behaviors? Self-help skills, again, really important. And academic skills. So let the school know what you need. They may not be able to provide everything. Ask us, look on some of the websites that we're discussing. Talk to other parents. You can learn so much from other parents. Next slide, please. So staff to student ratio. The ratio should be determined by what the student needs so that they can make that sufficient progress on the IEP goals and objectives. Keep in mind that the ratio may not be the same throughout the day. It could be very different. I know for my son, there were times that as long as the paraprofessional or teacher's aide was there, he could be integrated with his peers in classes in regular education. But he did require special education services. And there were times when he needed to be in a smaller class, especially at the end of the day, because he gets tired, he's been overwhelmed, and sometimes the ratio was a lot smaller. So be creative. Again, this should be individualized for each child. So the considerations for ratio include the teacher, the paraprofessional, the peer supports in each educational setting. You want to consider the levels of learning. You know, are they going to be able to generalize it? What about maintaining it? Next slide, please. Again, a lot of information, but we wanted to go over it. This could be a class schedule, and you can see on the right-hand side that initially it's 1-to-1. One teacher to one student, or one paraprofessional to one student. And then when you go to 9:26 a.m., about halfway down, you'll see that it's 13 students for 3 teachers or paraprofessionals. And that's okay. I know some kids who need one-on-one all day, or maybe 1 to 3. Individualize it, what works best for your child. Next slide, please. So a daily schedule. You should know your child's schedule. It should list the objectives that they're going to work on. What is the staff to student ratio? And what is their level of learning? They might need a lot of help. They may just need a little bit of help, but this is something that can help you understand what your child is doing during the day, what goals are being worked on, and who is going to be working with him. Next slide, please. Communication. Communication is one of those things that, gosh, if you can be a great communicator, your needs can be met, life can be great, and people understand you. Kids on the autism spectrum, communication can be a huge issue. So it's important that as part of the Autism Supplement, communication is a strategy. It includes a variety of interventions used to enhance your child's communication skills. And it isn't all about speech therapy. Speech therapy is fantastic. I'm a huge advocate of that. But it's not everything. Maybe your child needs pictures. Again, I mentioned sign language. There's technology. Technology is huge. They didn't have that for my son because we didn't have then what we have today. You can request an adaptive technology evaluation. What would work best for your child? And it's more than likely that almost every child with an autism supplement, communication, I would think, would be something that not only is considered, because it should be, but would be assigned to your child. And make sure that if your child does have technology, that the teacher is trained, your child is trained. And in turn, you as the parent are trained. Because what good is the technology if nobody understands how it works? Next slide, please. Social skills. I think that's probably, well, I don't want to say number 2 on the list because we have it listed as number 9. Social skills, it's so interesting. We often say those are sort of the soft skills in life. I think they're essential because we all need to communicate our needs and we all need to socially get along with people. It isn't just about saying please and saying thank you and manners. How do our kids build relationships? How do they make friends? One-on-one instruction can help build those skills. And we want everything to be as organic as possible. We want it to be taught in the natural environment. When you sort of practice something so much, sometimes it sounds so automated that it doesn't come naturally to the child. So you want them to be out in the community, practice in different settings, determine the skills to teach based on what's needed to learn. I have a child who, well, he's actually an adult now, but he can be very impulsive. So you want to work on that self-regulation, taking turns with conversations, understanding that it's polite to listen and not interrupt. And that can be really challenging for our kids. Social skills can also include asking appropriate questions. If I'll never forget when my son was, I don't know, probably 6 years old, and we were somewhere, and clearly I knew that the person was pregnant. And my son said something like, "Why do you look like that?" And she was very nice and she knew. But sometimes when kids are older, or some people are really offended by that. So you want to teach those appropriate questions to ask. Next slide, please. Professional educator and staff support. This can be very, very challenging, especially given all that our schools are going through right now. I cannot stress the importance enough of staff support and training. And they can be trained on, for example, positive behavior supports. That's what PBS is. They can be trained on, how to develop that behavior intervention plan for a particular student. They should learn. Someone else is going to be doing it because it's typically done by a BCBA or the school psychologist, but they can learn how to implement that behavior intervention plan for your child. The training should be documented, and it's important that you ask about it. The training may not be specific to the disability, but it's important to the student. And the example we give there is a reading program. It's impossible for teachers to know everything, but oftentimes what they can do is work with a speech therapist to work on strategies, work with the school psychologist, work with a BCBA, that board certified behavior analyst, so they can learn certain strategies to implement when they're working with your child. Next slide, please. Support your teachers as best you can. Have a guide, have some type of manual, some kind of check-in chart. Ask for a behavior chart. If your child is having trouble at home, let the teacher know. In my case, when I got divorced, I let them know when they were going to be at their dad's that weekend versus when they were going to be with me that weekend. So they would know, who were you with, mom or dad that weekend? Behavior charts are really important. They should be completing them. You should be reading them. And if there's any behaviors at home that they need to know about, please make sure that you share those. Next slide, please. So again, this would be in the IEP, professional education staff support. And you can see at the bottom half, they will be trained on the use of the current behavior plan. The case manager will meet with staff before school to review the IEPs and tracking that IEP progress. Teachers who have not received any training in autism will be provided with basic training from the district autism specialist. So sometimes they call them different names. Sometimes I think it's the autism itinerant specialist, district autism specialist. The teachers need to be educated on what autism is and what it isn't. And while I believe that most of them might have that, reminders never hurt. And how does autism display itself in your child? What triggers do they have? My son does not do well a lot of times when it's really bad weather. He's gotten better, but when he was a child, he would be terrified during thunderstorms. Let them know what are those triggers. My son was very sensitive to smells, to sounds, things like that. Let the teachers know those things so they know how to manage them when they arise at school. Next slide, please. So teaching strategies. I love the word evidence-based and peer-reviewed. That's what these teaching strategies are. They're based on research-based practices, and they've been reviewed by peers. It's not endorsing a certain methodology. It's not mandating it, but it does require consideration to the extent practical. And I realize that when we say to the extent possible or anything like that, there's a lot of variation with that. Common sense goes a long way. Effort goes a long way. So strategies to consider would include a discrete trial training, get help from the ABA with the school district, the BCBA, and maybe some ABA strategies can be implemented. If you don't know what ABA is, it's Applied Behavioral Analysis, and it's to promote positive behavior and reduce those challenging behaviors. Structured learning, visual supports, and what augmentative communication are we using for the child? Because maybe those would be helpful to them as alternative teaching strategies. Again, everyone learns differently, and it should be individualized. Next slide, please. So these are some really great websites. We just went over the 11 strategies. This is the statewide lead for autism, and that's just a screenshot. Pretty much everything you wanted to know about autism is on this website. I encourage you to look at it. It's free. They have free videos, free information, kind of the latest and greatest all about autism. Next slide, please. So the Target Manual. Target stands for Texas Autism Resource Guide for Effective Teaching. All sorts of great strategies when it comes to behaviors, learning, social skills. You name it, it is in this manual, and I encourage you to take a look at it. We know that you're strapped for time, but the more you learn now, the more you can implement, and it will help you as your child needs this assistance. Next slide, please. Again, more about interventions and online training, and it's free. Who says nothing in life is free? But all of these trainings are free. I've watched some of them because, again, it's impossible to know everything, and I learn something new every day. This website is in conjunction with the TEA, the Texas Education Agency. I believe they're very good about updating it if there's new information to share with families. So it's a good resource for all. Next slide, please. Video library. Who doesn't love videos? Everything that you wanted to learn would be probably in this video library. All about, again, how do you prompt? What about verbal redirection, functional communication, all sorts of information, reinforcement, behavior supports. I encourage you to look at this video library. Next slide, please. So every area in Texas has what we call an education service center. If you're not familiar with ours, we are Region 4, and there is their link, and that's just a screenshot of some of the classes they have. Our statewide lead for autism is Kathy Williams. She is a doll. Love Kathy. If you see that there is a class that you want to attend, a lot of times it's for professionals, and your teachers and the paraprofessionals, the guidance counselors, all of them, they know about Region 4. But if you see that there's a class that you want to attend and maybe you can't afford it, email Kathy. I know I used to, and she would oftentimes say, don't worry about paying, just come and find me and I'll get you in there. You'd still have to register, but they won't charge you, and they'll give you some type of code. So please try not to let money be the issue. Region 4 is generally very kind about making sure that parents can attend their classes. Next slide, please. There is a statewide autism conference. It is in June, and this year it is going to be in Austin. I think they also have a virtual option, but don't quote me on that. But there is the information for the Texas Autism Conference. It's on a Thursday through Saturday, I believe, in the middle of June. Next slide, please. I mentioned before about Texas Project First. So in the upper right-hand corner where you see the search, another reminder, everything that you need to know about autism. It includes the 11 strategies, different resources, things like that. Again, it's in both English and Spanish. And Texas Project First explains so much about your rights regarding special education. It's accurate and it's consistent. please make sure that you refer to this as a trusted source. I know a lot of times people go to Facebook and ask a lot of other parents, and that's fine. That's no problem. Just keep in mind that we're going to be quoting what the law is, whereas sometimes when you pose a question on a chat group with parents, they're giving you their opinion, sometimes versus what is the facts. We are on Facebook, Family to Family Network, so make sure you like us, follow us. Next slide, please. So after reviewing these 11 strategies, how many strategies does your child need addressed in your IEP? I realize this was a tremendous amount of information, and you're not going to know off the top of your head. It takes time to learn it, understand it, and absorb it. Next slide, please. Most importantly, please remember that your child is a child first. They have hopes, they have dreams, and that autism label doesn't mean that your child is someone that doesn't have those dreams. It's a disability label that is just a passport for services. That is all that it's doing. I always say, this is my son. People don't need to know that he has autism. I obviously discuss it at the doctor's office, and I'm very transparent with the school, and they know, or if he's joining a club, so people know how to work with him. But just remember that label is just a passport for services. Next slide, please. So please, please complete the survey. We are grant funded. And how do we get more funding? Because we can show data. Remember when I talked about how important data is? Well, our funders want to know data. Did this help you? Did you find it informational? Did you find some resources that would help you on your journey with your child? Please, please complete the survey. And Leonella or Christina, if you could please type it in the chat as well, that would be great. We thank you for joining this webinar, and I see some information in the chat box that I'll get to. Next slide, please. So, questions, I will go through those as well. And there is our email address and our phone number. Christina or Leonella, if you could go back to the previous slide, please, just so they can copy and paste, or they can use the QR code. Please make sure that you complete the survey. Let me start at the very top. Hold on one second. And I may not know the answer to all the questions, but I can certainly find out. Hello, for extended school year, what does it require for a child to be considered for ESY? I am being told that the current data for my child does not indicate the need for ESY, but he's never missed it in the past 6 years of receiving special education services. So that's a great question, Sharafat. So, and Christina, if Mary Jane is listening to this, please have her correct me. Your child to receive extended school year services, they would have to regress significantly if they did not receive special education. Excuse me, if they did not receive ESY services, extended school year. Keep in mind, you can disagree with that. I don't recall the age of your child. I think that it's something that they should be telling you why. They may say, okay, the current data doesn't support it. Well, you can appeal that. You don't have to agree. It's possible that even though your child has gotten it for the last 6 years, maybe they have progressed so much that they don't need that extended school year. I don't know specifically why. I just think that since it is individualized, maybe they have grown so much but feel free to appeal it. And if you could, Sheriff Hatt, please email me that question so I can ask one of my colleagues what else they can offer in terms of advice for that. Something else I'm going to put in the chat box, or Christina or Leonella, if you could, please. Yes, Mary Jane says they should show data to prove that you don't need it. And they did show data to prove. They explained that the data doesn't support it. So yes, I was on the right track, and thank you for that additional information. There is another, and I'm going to put it in here as well. You can also contact spedtex.org. You can email, you can call, and you can ask them about that. If you go to Texas Project First and put in extended school year, or ESY, it should bring up information about that as well. But basically, in a nutshell, the data should prove that your child would regress significantly, so that without that extended school year instruction, it would be much more difficult for them to catch up at the beginning of the school year. I hope that answered your question, and I'm happy to have you email me and I can delve into that further. Okay, Vicki, glad you liked it. Thank you, Mary Jane. I thought there was something else. Oh yeah. What happens when the staff believes, oh no, we already did that one. Oh no, a different one. What happens when the staff believes the child does not need extended schooling, but the parent is requesting it and seeing the benefit of it, especially for children who enter at their third birthday close to summer break? Yeah, I would, again, Ingrid, they would need to show you the data. Remember when we talked about procedural safeguards? When you're requesting something, they need to show you why and show you the data. Why is it they are denying that service? When my son was younger, he did extended school year all the way, I want to say, through 7th grade. It was granted only 6 weeks, but every bit helped, and I took it. So if you disagree with that, don't agree to it in the ARD. Make sure that you disagree so that a resolution you can come to a resolution. But I would definitely ask them to show you the data, and what data do they have to support their decision, because you are entitled to that. Let's see, can you please go back to strategy number 8? Also, are there strategies for kids with intellectual disabilities? So Leonella, could you go back to strategy number 8, please? Communication. So again, a variety of interventions. It's not just about speech therapy. And as far as strategies for kids with intellectual disabilities, please remember too that individualized education plan is customized. It should be individualized for your child. So it's not unusual for someone who has autism to have an intellectual disability. But that doesn't mean that if your child has an intellectual disability, that they have autism. So yes, some of these strategies absolutely can be used if your child has an intellectual disability, and communication is one of those. Positive behavior supports can be one of those. Adaptive technology could be one of those. It's just that as far as these specific strategies, they are used for children who have a diagnosis of autism. Your child could have autism, intellectual disability, and speech delay. They could have all three. I hope that explained your question, or answered your question, I should say. If it didn't, please let me know, and I'm happy to explain more. Keila or Kyla, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I hope that answered your question as well. These strategies are actually great for all children. You know, every child communicates at their level, in their own way, in their own speed. And I think these strategies are great for all kids. Oh, for those of you who asked about the extended school year question, did the parents see the data? I interpret it as you did see the data, but if you did not, please make sure that you ask for the data and review it. Discuss it with your teacher. And if you didn't see the data, request it because they should be providing it to you so that you can review it. Oh, great. Glad I answered. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. Wow. 104. Not bad. Okay, Judy. Any other questions? And Leonella, if you could go back to the slide that shows the QR code and the survey link, I would appreciate it. Okay. Anything else from anyone? We hope that this was very, very helpful for you. Again, please email me. I'm the one who sent out the reminder emails, and I will put my email in the, oh, I see one new message. Hold on. Oh, thank you. Wait, let's see. Thank you for holding these sessions. Oh, our pleasure, Sarah. We will be having the Spanish session next week by Christina and Leonella. So share with your friends, share with your family. If you are able to and would like to make a donation, gosh, we love donations because we are grant funded and those grants are hard to get. I'm going to put in our website as well. We have a calendar of events. We list information, more about what we do. There's helpful resources. So please refer families to our website and find us on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I think Twitter. How old was your son when he started speaking? Oh gosh, he was, I know they start saying first words, several months old. They should say a couple of words. I would probably say more like the 2 to 2.5 range. He might say like a word or two, but as far as it really taking off, it was more like 2.5. The only thing that he did on time was roll over. Everything else was delayed. And this was back in 1995 when he was born. So it was a lot different then than what we know now. But I could tell something wasn't right because there was another family member that was diagnosed with autism and one of his cousins. And it gave me a window into that world. And he was actually diagnosed with autism at 13 months old. So talking came late, walking was very late. He didn't walk until he was about, I would say, 18 to 20 months old. Was not potty trained until about 4.5. Again, it was important to me, but not so important to me that I stressed out about it. Eventually, it was going to happen, and eventually it did. Patience goes a long way when raising kids with autism. I know it's very, very difficult to have that patience. Somehow you find it within inside yourself. Rely on family, rely on friends to help you, and know that we are here at Family to Family Network to do all that we can to help and support you. Thank you so much for joining us on this training. We truly appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day.